Hi, so today in this video we're going to be talking about this problem, which is question 10 on the 3.3 homework, which talks about a little bit about remainder theorem and synthetic division. So in this problem, the first thing that caught me off guard when I first was shown this by a student is the fact that there's like, if you plug something in here, it will not grade it. I think it has to be like hand graded. I'm not sure if you need to worry too much about that, but basically what it's asking is number one. First, C, we're assuming that this is a zero of this problem, right? But we need to prove that somehow. And then after we find that, we want to find all of the other zeros. And then be careful, once you find them, we don't want to include 2 with that. It will mark it wrong. I figured that out when I was helping someone else, and it was very silly, pretty goofy. I don't know why they decided to do it that way, but I guess the keyword was other. So first, we're going to set this up as if we were synthetically dividing. And we'll just do -2. We don't need to change the signs or anything like that. We'll put a 1 for the x cubed, a 2 for the 2x cubed, a -9 for the x, a -18 for the constant, and then a line. And we'll drop this 1 down, and we'll multiply that by -2. -2 times 1 is -2. 2 plus -2 is 0. 0 times -2 is 0. -9 plus 0 is -9. -9 times -2 is +18. +18 plus -18 is 0. And this is what we want to find. And we'll talk about this in next chapter or pretty soon about finding zeros using synthetic division. This is really key to helping us. It's going to be super key for helping us with factoring and finding zeros in polynomials that are greater than like 3 or 4 terms. So with this in mind, firstly, this shows that C is a 0 of P of X. Now, I know that you can't really plug that into that box, so there are a few alternatives that you can try. First, you could try doing a visual representation of that. That's totally valid. Another way that you could do that is to plug in -2 for your X. So -2 cubed plus 2 times -2 squared minus 9 times -2 minus 18. So this turns into +18 minus 18, which crosses out. This turns into -8. This turns into +8. And these will cross out as well, giving you 0. So P of -2 is equal to 0, which means that we have a 0 here, boys. And then what is going to happen next? So that would be your answer for this. Now, it's not going to mark you correct or incorrect. I don't know if Wendy is planning on grading it or not. It's okay. Don't worry about it if it is or is not. It will be something like that where it shows it. It won't check that or correct it or anything. For this next part of the question, so we already confirmed that -2 is a 0. And what is sort of happening here, we know we were synthetically dividing, which means that we could take x cubed plus 2x squared minus 9x minus 18 and then divide it by x plus 2, because if we were doing something like that, it would be here. And what's happening though is once we have that, we have our x plus 2 factor here, and that's key. We're going to multiply it with this quotient. And that, if we multiplied this through, we would get this. But we'll have something like x plus 2 and then 1x minus 9. 1x squared minus 9. Because we'll go constant x1 x squared. We kind of build up from the constant. So remainder, constant x squared. The remainder will usually be divided by whatever is being divided by. In this case, it would be, since there's no remainder, it won't be by anything. But so what we'll want to do is, we know that this is a 0. This is done and good. We don't need to worry about this for a minute. And it's not one of the other zeros because we already figured out that it's the 0 that they're talking about. So let's focus on this x squared minus 9. We want to find the zeros of this. Now, there are a few ways that we could go about this, and we're going to learn a more in-depth version, I believe, in class tomorrow, where we use synthetic division to continue. But in this example, what will be easiest for us to do is just to add 9 over to both sides. We'll get x squared equals +9. To get x by itself, we'll take the square root of x squared and the square root of 9. And when we're taking the square root of something, we need to have the plus or minus of that. So in this case, it'd be plus or minus 3, because the square root of 9 is 3. So one of our zeros is going to be +3, and one of our zeros is going to be -3. That's a -1. So what you would plug in for this would be 3 comma negative 3, and that would be your answer for this question. We will go further into depth about the remainder theorem, finding our zeros, finding what our positive and negative zeros will look like, but as of now, this is the answer to this question and how you would go about solving it. Thank you.